How we doing? Today is Tuesday, October the 1st, 2024. And I'm making this video in regards to seller financing and notes, real estate notes, specifically for sellers of a property. What I'm going to do is show you a scenario and show you three different ways that the proceeds break down for a seller who decides to consider seller financing. And then if they do move forward with seller financing, I'm going to just show you what type of money you could make from offering seller financing. Now, traditionally, people that sell homes, they usually go to a real estate agent, they list the property, the agent, then finds a buyer. Buyer is qualified for a loan, and out of the proceeds from that loan that the buyer gets, the seller gets their equity. So I'm going to show you a couple of other ways you can get to the equity, and in a couple of these, you'll see that you can uh, get more money for your property when you are selling with seller financing. So let me share my screen. And well, the first thing I want to do is talk about the expenses associated with selling a property. So as you can see here, did a quick Google search. Average closing costs for a seller. And again, it depends on where you live, but this is kind of standard for any state, somewhere between 6 to 10%. So whatever your equity is, you're looking at having to take about 6 to 10% off of that to walk away with. So that's where I wanted to start first. Because when you do create a note, or you sell, or when you create a note on a property and you look to sell it, uh, anybody that buys that note is going to want to buy it at a discount. How much of a discount? Well, that's just going to depend on what you can negotiate and what you work out. Also, it depends on how this note was created and written, who the person is living in the property, who the note was created for to actually live in the property, and who is making that payment for that note that is created. So, here is the scenario. So we have a sales price here of $250,000, and that's what you want to sell your house for, and you've decided to say, hey, I'm willing to consider doing seller financing on this particular property. And you can do this whether you have a real estate agent or if you're selling the property by yourself. That's the scenario. You can do this with $500,000 house, you can do this with $1 million house, you can do this with a $100 million house. It really doesn't matter the price of the home, but you can just see, how the numbers, how they turn out when you do offer seller financing, and they would just have to be adjusted for the price of your particular home. And again, you can do this on houses that are $100,000 or even less. So, in this scenario here, we have an interested buyer with a down payment of 15%. If you want to research this, if you look at seller financing and you do a Google search on typical like down payment, the national average based on 2023 was about 26% when a seller offered seller financing in terms of a down payment. So a lot of times you get significantly more of a down payment when offering seller financing than maybe somebody that's going to get qualified with an FHA loan, or even conventional financing could be around 20%. So the national average, and that's just taking in, everything across the US, is you can look to get on average about 25 to 26% down when offering seller financing. So in this particular example, we have a down payment of about 15%, and this potential buyer has a credit score of about 675. And these are typical numbers. These are kind of average numbers that you can find. You can find people that have higher credit scores, and you may say, well, why is somebody with a credit score like that not just going to a bank with a down payment of 15% or 20% and a credit score of 650, 675, 700? Why are they not just getting qualified? it could be for a number of reasons. We won't get into all of that right now for the exercise, but just know that there are people out there that have, these types of down payments or more and this type of credit score. Now, you also have people who have less money to put down and lower credit scores as well. So it all depends on who you feel comfortable with, who you want to choose. Obviously, the person that has the most money down and the better credit score, better credit history is probably somebody you're going to feel more comfortable with. But again, we're dealing with kind of averages on here. So you can find somebody usually between about 620 to about 680 in terms of credit score, and anywhere from 10 to 20% down. So for this, again, we're going to use 15% down to somebody with a 675 credit score. So um, and for this, this is the numbers on how we would create the note for the potential buyer that's going to go on into the property. So they're going to give us 15% down, which is 37,500. So we're going to write the note, that 37,500 has to come off of the sales price, which is 250,000. So you're going to write the note at 212,500 at 8.5%. Now, typically when you write a note, you're probably going to write it anywhere from about 9 to about 11%, depending on the price range. Obviously, the higher the price range as you go, you may have to bring that interest rate down. But standard for the industry, when people write notes, when they write good quality notes, I should say, should be somewhere between 9 to about 11%. But, we have to take in consideration if you're in $1 million, $5 million, $10 million space, we may have to come somewhat underneath, but it's not like we have to go all the way down to 2% or 3% or something like that. You could do that, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do that. You want to kind of be around that average somewhere between 9 to 11, but if you have to adjust it down to make it affordable, you can do that. In this example here, based on the 8.5% interest rate that is written at, the payment is $1,633.94, and we're going to amortize this over 30 years. So there are 3 ways to get paid out on this, and that's the purpose of this video, is to show you the money that you can make here. So in this first scenario here is if you collected, as a seller, you collected these payments over the 360 months of 30 years. If you did that, you're looking at making about $625,718. So that includes your down payment, and that includes all of the payments that you've collected. So if you took the $1,633.94 and times that by 360 payments, you take that amount, and you add it with the down payment that you have and with the interest that you gained over that particular time, this is how you can gain that type of money. Now, somebody may say, well, I may not want to wait 30 years to collect my payments, but maybe you do. Maybe if you've lived in a house a certain amount of years and you're not necessarily taking all the equity out of this particular property to go do something with, you can structure this way so that your family, whoever is involved in your estate, your children, your grandchildren. So even if you do pass away, these payments still can be collected over time, and this amount of money could be gained for the future over that 30-year period. So if something does happen to you, it's not like, the payments just stop. It doesn't continue. They still continue, and they go to whoever it is that you would like to go to at that particular time if you pass away or something like that. And, this can be, willed to anybody in your family or anything like that. So you may want to consider this even, if you're an older person and you're trying to set up maybe an estate and something to pass along to future generations. And this too, could be for somebody, maybe you're a younger person, maybe you're in your 30s or 40s and you don't mind collecting payments over a long period of time, and you can, have this as an income stream over the next 30 years. So that's one way. So basically, for a $250,000 sale, you've like 3.5x that money over time. But the caveat is that you have to wait over time. So the second one is money now and money later. Um, so when you do create a note, when we create that $212,000, $500 note, um, you have the ability to sell certain portions of it. You don't have to sell the whole note that is created. You can sell what is called a partial, a certain amount of payments. So you've already collected in this example here 37,500. And now for the next 180 payments, you can sell those next 180 payments, which is what 15 years, for a certain amount of money. And that, again, it all depends on you and the person that's looking to purchase it. If they're going to purchase that, those next 180 payments, they're probably going to want it at a certain percentage. And the fact that we've written this at 8.5%, maybe they want to get 9.5 or 10%. So it's worth a certain amount of money to purchase these 180 payments. And so what happens too is that this 180 payments that someone is purchasing from you, they would collect that money over the 180 payments. But there's still an additional 180 payments on the back end. That will revert back to you as the seller. After that 180th payment is made, payment 181, now that $1,600 monthly payment that was being made to you, that was being made by the person in the home, reverts back to you. And then also, when you look at this, is that some people may say, well, what if, after 100 months or 75 months, they pay off, they refinance, they sell the property. Maybe they don't, person that you're creating this note for doesn't stay in a property that long. You are still owed a certain amount of money based on the 180 payments that you still own on the back end. There's a certain amount that's a payoff for these 180 payments. So let's just say, after 60 months, the person refinances or they sold the property, they lived there for 5 years and now they want to sell it. From the 60 payment to the 180th payment, there's a certain lump sum that goes to the person that purchased this partial note from you, that purchased these 180 payments. And then everything from that 181st payment all the way to the end of the loan, there's a lump sum that's still owed to you as well. So if you look at it here, you've collected 37,500 and you're going to sell this 136,000. You're going to sell of these 180 payments for 136,142. And then the 15 years that's still owed to you, that payoff that's still on the back end. So after 15 years, there's still a payoff of 165,926 that is still owed to you. So if you take up all three of those numbers, you're looking at just under $340,000. Again, on a property that you are going to sell for 250,000, and we don't know how much equity. Let's just say even if the house was free and clear and you were going to sell it at 250,000, you were looking at making, $250,000 on it minus that 6 to 10% that we talked about. You've just, almost doubled that, 1.5 times that money, over a course of, whatever amount of time, whenever this thing decides to get paid off, refinance, whatever the case may be. So, that is another way that you can, get more money for a property when you sell with seller financing. Because maybe you don't have, something to do right now with $250,000 worth of cash. Maybe, there's no investment that you're looking at doing. There's nothing that the money, you're not going to put it into something that's going to make you X amount of dollars over time. And so this is another reason why you want to consider doing seller financing on this, because your money is actually growing over this particular time period that you're creating these notes for, and you're not, just putting it in the bank or putting it in a CD. And again, maybe there's not an investment that is going to allow you to get at least 8.5% or more on your money. So you would want to consider seller financing your property in this instance. So in the last one here, we do have a full cash out. Let's just say you created this note and you're looking to sell it right away, maybe within the first 6 months, first 3 months, maybe after the first payment is made, you want to just cash out of the deal. Or maybe, you were thinking one of those other two strategies, but something happened in your life and you need to be able to, cash out of this note. Here is what the full cash out on it, how the numbers break down. So again, you've collected the 37,500, which was the 15% down. And then you've collected one payment. You've collected the 1633, and then now you want to sell. You need to sell for whatever reason. You could you could stand a very good chance of getting at least $186,106 for this remaining balance on this note. The note's remaining balance was 212 and 212,500. And like we said in the beginning, when you sell a note, you're going to sell it at a discount. So, how much of a discount is, again, is going to be up to the person that's buying and yourself to agree on that. But it's, 99.5% of the time, notes are going to be sold at a discount. And so I'll just show you on this amortization table here. This is 186,106. If you sold it for that amount, the person that's buying those 359 payments, as you can see right here, they're gonna now be getting about a 10% return on the money because they're buying it at a slight discount from you. So that original interest rate that you wrote the note for actually goes up because they're purchasing at somewhat of a discount. And somebody may not want 10%. Maybe there's somebody out there that has $186,000 sitting in some type of a retirement account, some type of account out there that, that they're not getting. They're getting 2, 3, 4%, 5%. Would they not want to take that money and get, maybe they want to get the 8.5%? So they can just buy the face value of the note. It doesn't happen a lot of times because, like I said, most times it is a discount. But there may be someone out there that'll say, "Yeah, I have $212,000 that I'd rather get 8.5% on." Or if somebody, would somebody be happy with 9.75% return on their money? So then you could sell that note. You could sell those payments, those remaining 359 payments, for $190,000. And you've already collected 37,500 plus the first payment of 1633 and some change. So when you add those numbers up, just to go back to the example, if you were to sell it again and give somebody a 10% return and you get 187,000, you sold, the total to you is 223,606. And so if you look at that, like I said, minus that 6 to 10%, if, because you may have to, what if somebody asks you for a seller's concession? Something comes back on a report where you have to go fix something in the house. Or if you don't want to fix it on a house, you have to possibly give this particular person a credit. So when you look at all of that money, by the time that the transaction all comes together, a lot of times it may be closer to 10% or even more, just depending on that particular property and how things turn out. Did somebody offer you less? Maybe on this $250,000 listing that you have, maybe somebody didn't offer you 250,000. Maybe they offered you a little bit less and you still have those other costs. So what are you looking at putting in your pocket, best case scenario? A lot of times you want to look at the numbers from this seller financing perspective and your situation and say, you know what, could I make some more money here? Is it better for me to collect this over time based on my situation right now? I don't, I could use $37,000 right now to go ahead and do what it is that I want to do with that cash. And then the balance of it, I could collect over time. And over time, if something happens, I know that I could liquidate my note and cash it out. I could sell a partial. You could sell a partial more than once. Maybe you sell only 60 months of payments and get yourself another $30,000 or $40,000. And then after 5 years, you can maybe sell that person another 5 years or 10 years at that particular time and take money out based on your current situation. So you can break this up a lot of ways and collect money over time where, you know, in the end all be all of it, you sold the house for more than that $250,000, and whatever your equity is in that particular property. So I wanted to, kind of go through that. Hopefully, everything, made sense in those examples. What I'll do too is probably come back on this a part two, and then I'll show you the amortization chart when we talk about partials and things of that nature. Show you what, how it breaks down, how it looks like on the amortization schedule and on a chart. So maybe it makes more sense if you see it visibly. So I'll probably do a part two on this, but just wanted to do this really quickly. I don't try to make these videos really very long, so you can hopefully watch it to the end and get the information. But when selling your house like this, you have the potential, of first of all, you're going to open it up to more buyers. I know everything right now, when this video is made, is that, in certain areas, you put a house on the market, usually within about 30 days, 45 days, it's sold, and it's probably sold for what you're asking for or more. So it just depends on where you are, what's going on in your particular market. But if you're in a market where it's changing and things are staying on the market a little bit longer, people are coming in with lower offers than what you were expected, all of the costs that go into selling a property, you want to consider this particular option. And you can look at both. If you put on your listing with your agent willing to do seller financing, somebody may come to you on that side of it, but you could still sell your property to someone who is getting fully qualified. But it's better to open up the property to more people and have more options and weigh what is better. What is better for you? Is it better for me to take somebody that's qualified and can buy this with a loan and I get all my cash now, or can I take some money that out of the house, or get some money from the house that I can go and do whatever it is I need to do, and I can still create a income stream for myself. So it's always better to have more than one option on something. So, I would recommend that you look at this. Like I said, even if you are dealing with an agent, maybe your agent doesn't know this, maybe as well, or have done a bunch of these transactions, but it still can be discussed with them. If you'd like, we could talk to them, help them to kind of put this together, put it together the right way, make sure that you're getting the right type of person in the property that can make the payment, has the funds to make it, has the income to do all that, and make sure that the paperwork and everything is done properly. We could do that as well. Or if you're selling a house by yourself, and we can assist, helping you in doing that and bringing somebody to the table for you that uh, that can that's a good fit for this. So again, hopefully that makes sense. I'll do a part two to this, and we'll kind of, look at the numbers on a amortization schedule, and we'll go through it a little bit further. But just wanted to put that out to the people that are out there selling, looking to sell. Instead of lowering your price or taking a lower price, I would definitely consider offering seller financing and see what type of buyers, what type of interest that draws to your particular property. And then you make it, the best decision for yourself. So if you have any questions or anything, you can reach out to me. My telephone number is 973-475-8488. You can call or text that number, or you can email me at deals with an S. That's DEALSACG@yahoo.com. You can send me an email there if you have questions, concerns, or anything like that, and can get those answered for you. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.